Welcome to The Last Track, where we help people showcase the last track of their life story in their final wishes. I am your host, Brian Norris, the co-owner of Bateman Funeral Home in Newport, Oregon. Just like a song can bring you back to a day, a time, and a memory, so too can a well-planned service. We're going to be talking a little bit about planning services. That can be really confusing. It can be really difficult sometimes. And you're thinking, I got all these choices, or, maybe we're doing a cremation and what can I do type of a thing, because the only thing I've ever been to was my grandma and grandpa's, and they were buried and they were in a casket. So you might have all those kind of questions. And so today we're going to talk specifically about funerals that involve cremation. Make sure that you look, it's going to be the next one in our trilogy that talks about burial, traditional services, and burial services and things that you can do for burial. But in this particular podcast episode that we're doing today, we're going to be talking about cremations. So you hear some of these different words going around and titles going around and things that you think, what do they mean? Because when I'm talking to somebody from the funeral industry, they might say, well, are you going to do a direct cremation? Are you going to be doing a traditional cremation service? Are you going to be doing, and because of the fact that we're in the industry, a lot of times we forget about the fact that when we say immediate or direct and that kind of thing, that most people that are not in our industry really don't know what that definition is. And so to define it for just a minute, a direct cremation is 90% of the time when people are talking about a direct cremation, it means a cremation, no viewing, no service, no frills. It just means direct cremation. They do the cremation, the company that you're using, and then they hand you back. And it's generally in a cardboard box or a very basic black plastic urn. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that decision. But now the question comes up, what do I do? I've got this black box or I've got this cardboard box and I want to do some kind of a service. What do I do? Well, a lot of times that decision is made to do a direct cremation because we're in the middle of a pandemic and nobody can get together or nobody can fly. And so maybe what you're doing is you're doing just a simple direct cremation to have the person that's passed away taken care of. And then you have no restrictions and you're not like crunched for time to make a decision to do a burial or to place the person in a cemetery or have a memorial service or that type of thing. So a direct cremation isn't necessarily just to save money and try to get the cheapest cremation done. Sometimes it's made out of necessity. Maybe it's done because, you simply aren't ready to have a memorial service. Because you can take that cremated remains and you can put it on a bookcase, you can put it on a shelf, you can put it on a desk, and you can wait. And then you can talk to all your family members, and maybe it happens in November or December, right in the holidays, and everybody's going to be together in December at the holidays. And so you can get together and have some sort of a service then when everybody's already going to be in town. Maybe it took place during the holidays. It's not a good time because everybody's going to be going everywhere. And so you wait until spring or summer when everybody can get together, when the weather's beautiful, and you can go out and you can scatter the ashes somewhere on some property or that type of thing. And there's a whole episode that talks about, scattering and that type of thing. But that's the simple direct cremation is to take care of the person expeditiously. There's not going to be a viewing and there's not going to be a memorial service with that funeral home. Again, it doesn't mean you can't have your own memorial service down the road. You can have a memorial service with the funeral home, you can plan your own. And with the cremated remains, maybe you had a viewing ahead of time. So you can actually have a viewing, and generally there's a little bit extra charge because an ID view is simply so that one or two or three people can come in, say, yes, this is the person that's my loved one. They're identifying the person. It's not a full-blown viewing where family members come, when there's prayers and all this type of a thing. It's just simply an ID view, and then there's a cremation. But you can request to have a viewing, and what would take place is the funeral home that's handling the services for you will prepare the person so that, and it's called setting features. And what will take place is they'll close their eyes, they'll close the mouth if it's open, because a lot of times people die with their mouth wide open, and they close the mouth, and then they'll either put like a hospital gown on and place them on a gurney or a table with sheets and a quilt and make the person look very nice and like they're in a bed. They might, and this might be something that you would ask, might be a little bit additional cost, but usually with a viewing comes clothing. And so you might be bringing in their favorite clothing. It could be a suit and a tie. It can also be the person's favorite sweatshirt, sweatpants. It could be jeans and a t-shirt with the football team's favorite logo on the t-shirt. Any of those things are completely appropriate for the individual that passed away. But they would be a viewing, and then there would be a cremation take place, and then they'll return your loved one in an urn, a selected urn that you have them in. There's keepsakes that can be done with that, and keepsakes, let me tell you, nowadays keepsakes range the gamut. It could be just a little simple urn, like a miniature urn of the big urn that's identical. It could be a whole different kind of an urn. It could be a heart-shaped brass urn. It could be in a necklace, where you have inside, you might have a thumbprint on one side and you might have some ashes on the other, that type of a thing. It could be anything, glass floats, desk weights, paper weights. It can be all kinds of things. So make sure you're informed about keepsakes, and you can just Google keepsakes, that type of thing, and you'll see all kinds of stuff. You can ask your funeral director to direct you in the right direction of keepsakes, but you can do that. You can have the viewing, you can have the cremation. The cremated remains will be returned in some sort of a container, and it could be a gamut. I mean, I've returned a whole box, like 19 different keepsakes in there, plus an urn. So you can do that. And then you can take those cremated remains and you can scatter them if that's what you're planning on doing. Make sure you follow the laws, make sure you know, and make sure you're standing upwind when you're doing your scattering. If you're on private property, make sure you get permission from that person that you can do it. If you're on public property, make sure, again, that's nobody standing downwind when you're doing the scattering. Just use some common sense as you're doing that. If you're going to go out to sea, there's a whole episode on that as well. So you can have a traditional service where you actually take the urn to your church. It's up front. It sits on an altar or it sits on something, and you can bring it there. It's placed there. You can put a photo of the person next to it. You can have poster boards with all kinds of photos all over it, around it. You can have videos made that can honor your loved one, and you just take the funeral home, the photos, add some music. They have the licensing on all the music. You can make your own, and you can take it to your own church. You can make your own, and you can do an outdoor service. Again, there's a whole other episode on outdoor services and that kind of thing. But you can have, you can put up some sort of a screen, whether it be a white sheet or a big professional screen, and you can have an outdoor service, and you can have your video running on that screen with some music. You could be passing around wine. You could sing Red Solo Cup. I did that at a service one time where the couple loved to go to parties and loved to sing that country song, Red Solo Cup, you fill me up, let's have a party. And we sang that at a service. And so those are all the different things you can do with cremated remains. You can also have a celebration of life. And we talked a little bit briefly how that might look. And we talked about going to church and having a very traditional, if it's a very conservative person that passed away and they're at a very conservative church, have a conservative memorial service. And the difference between a funeral service and a memorial service is the memorial service, the body is not present. It might be the urn. It might not even be an urn. It could just be simply a big photo of the person up front with candles and that type of thing. That's the main difference when you're talking about different buzzwords and things, memorial service, funeral service, traditional, all that kind of stuff. Honestly, there's no right or wrong answer. And it's what the family needs to heal. Don't let a funeral director tell you this is what you should do. Do what the family needs, and the funeral director can help support and help plan as needed and be there to support the family. That's our job, not to direct you. We can inform you and we can direct you in different information and different things, and we are there to help. So there we go. That is services that can be done with cremations. And I want to mention alkaline hydrolysis. It's called flameless cremation. That may be available in your part of the country. We had one up in Portland that's no longer there. We still have one in Roseburg, Oregon, that we can use if the person wants to do aquamation or alkaline hydrolysis. It's just a different form of cremation. And all of what I talked about would apply to that type of thing as well. Okay. I think I've covered just about as much as I want to in this episode. Well, we have reached that time in our podcast where we take a time and we take a moment and we remember all the families that are experiencing a loss, and we light a virtual candle in their memory. Let's take a moment. If you have any questions, send us an email at info@batemanpacificview.com. Forward it to your friends as well. This has been The Last Track. I'm Brian Norris. You can find out more about Bateman Funeral Home at our website at batemanpacificview.com. You can visit us on our website, and you can also leave us messages there, or you can visit us on Facebook. If you have any feedback or any questions about today's episode, you're welcome to call us at 541-265-2751, or you can send us an email at info@batemanpacificview.com. We would love to hear from you. And make sure you tune in to the third in this trilogy, talking about different services and things. And we talked about religious services, we talked about cremation services. Last but not least, we'll talk about burial services. Please send us to your friends, and thank you for listening.